But we have a bunch of news this week from Lebanon. Hizballah carried out a number of qualitative military operations this week. This is part of their overall daily. Hizballah carries out between 8 and 15 operations every single day and have since October the 8th when they joined this battle. They've carried out, according to Hizballah, 1,637 operations. That's to go along with Yemen's 118 operations and Iraq's 243 operations. So let's look at the video from Arab al-Aramshi. This is a border town that's evacuated. This border town has been evacuated like all of the Israeli border towns in the north and in the south as well. This is the first time that Israel's had buffer zones inside its own territory. They haven't been able to take back this territory because of Hizballah attacks on the border. So this is pointing out that the IDF is using this community center right in the middle of a civilian neighborhood. If this was in Gaza, the Israelis would make a huge deal and call this a kindergarten, because surely this community center is a daycare as well. But we can see here Hizballah is pointing out the military vehicles out front. And this is a newly established IDF reconnaissance base. And we're watching here an 𝐓𝐴 anti-tank missile that we've talked about on the program before that was captured in 2006 during the July war, taken to Iran and reverse engineered, and now is in the hands of resistance fighters of Hizballah and is able to, as we see here, target this makeshift Israeli base, which is interesting on a number of levels. First of all, this is a midday strike. It's in the middle of the day, broad daylight. And it's a newly established base. This base was just established by the IDF. It's one thing to have intelligence, to have an intelligence bank that you've collected, that Hizballah's collected for the last decade, where they know where particular installations are because of years of monitoring. But what we're seeing here is a new base. This is a new base that Hizballah demonstrates that they're able to have real-time human and signals intelligence that demonstrates their ability to find these targets in real time. This is not based on a bank of research that they've had over the years. So this strike was an 𝐓𝐴, according to the Israelis, 2 𝐓𝐴 anti-tank missiles. The Israelis didn't say they were 𝐓𝐴, but we know they are from that visual. And this was a mass casualty event for the IDF. Again, they said 14 wounded at the hospital. They said 18 were taken into the hospital. We know this community is evacuated and is a military base, so there's not civilians in the base. Again, unclear why the Israelis are lying even in detail when we have hospital reports of the number of casualties. So 14 or 18, 6 severely injured, 1 dead company commander that the Israelis 2 days later said was killed. In this attack, the Israeli media noted that no air defense alarms were sounded. And we've watched over the last months Hizballah taking out these surveillance towers and radar stations. We'll see more of them coming up. But this was a fiberglass drone attack. It has low heat signature. It defeated their radar, and the 𝐓𝐴 anti-tank weapon travels below the radar, so it can't be seen. Let's look at number 6 here, Tamara, because you can see this is Hizballah showing the drone in flight. We saw this footage last week with the audio. When the next time it goes around, we'll leave the audio in so you can hear it. So that's the Ababil Qasif drone. Again, Hizballah hasn't said what kind of munition that is, but we can see it's an Ababil by the airframe of that. It's a fiberglass weapon again, so it's defeating the the radar heat signatures. Do you want to show the next one tomorrow? Because we can watch it now. This is footage of it landing on the military base here. With the audio in, a direct strike. So not only is their intelligence precise, but their striking is precise, and we're seeing them able to hit these targets in a way that is a qualitative upgrade, and the lack of air defense signals going off, the air raid sirens, is a very interesting development. And it's something that we've been noticing for the last week or two in many of these strikes from Lebanon, that there's no air raid siren being sounded. So Israel's air defense array is not being used. On this attack here at the base at Arab al-Ramshi, the IDF actually put out notifications of alarms after the strike happened. So almost worse than having no alarms to have them after the strike. Let's look at number 11 tomorrow. This is another qualitative upgrade. We're watching a Burkan heavy rocket be fired in Sheba Farms and hitting an Israeli barracks, the Branit barracks in Sheba Farms, the 91st Division barracks. And we're seeing this is Burkan heavy rocket. The first time we've seen these throughout the war, but this war is the first time that we've seen this weapon be used. It's a heavy rocket which can carry a warhead up to 150 kilograms. We don't know which each one, depending on the distance, they change the warhead size, but you can clearly see direct hit on that Israeli base with the Burkan heavy rocket. And Hezbollah is able to produce these videos and show them within a day of these operations. And it's because of these operations that the Israelis are not back in their villages in the north, and Israel has no plan at this point for what their plan is for moving Hezbollah off the border. Of course, they could take this opportunity to negotiate a diplomatic solution, to have a ceasefire and a prisoner exchange. Hezbollah said that their battle is tied to the battle in Gaza, as Ansar Allah has said about their battle in the Red Sea, that if there is a ceasefire and aid into Gaza, both those groups would stop their attacks, that their attacks are part of that war. But Israel hasn't shown any indication that they're even interested in bringing back their people. And so these wars continue. Let's go to number 12 tomorrow. This is an Almas 3 attack. This is the first time that we've seen an Almas 3. This is the longest range Almas anti-tank guided missile. This is a top attack guided missile, which means that it can be fired and then controlled from a separate location. It can be fired on the ground and be directed upwards and then downwards, like we see here, traveling downwards toward a mobile radar station. So this is a mobile radar station, missile and drone detection radar station that the Israelis have, that's tied into their Iron Dome air defense system. And their David Sling anti-ballistic missile system. So it's an artillery detection radar, which is one of the reasons why you might that might explain why your rocket alarms are not going off when these types of radars are being hit. And we've seen this is at the Mount Meron air traffic control base and surveillance base, which is, again, something we've covered on these resistance reports before, because it was a previous target many times throughout this war. It's one of the more than 1,400 IDF sites that have been hit by Hezbollah, according to them. And it's one of this radar station is an important radar. It's not just any radar. These are not. There's only finite number of these Iron Dome missile defense systems. These types of sophisticated radars. There's not just ones in the back room that they pull out when these are destroyed. Destroying these platforms is significant, and of course, I think it goes without saying that you can make an Ababil fiberglass drone a lot faster than you can make one of these air defense radar systems. And so let's look at number 13 tomorrow. This is another attack. This is a Cornet anti-tank missile attack. And again, I want to just say all of these videos are from since you saw me last. All the videos I'm showing are still all from this last week. This is an signals intelligence base in Sheba Farms up on a hilltop. And again, a direct hit by a Cornet anti-tank missile, which the Iranians make a copy of, and Hezbollah has many of them, and we've seen them be used throughout the war. This is the first time they've given us a below view of the shooter, but you can see track the missile in there and direct hit. They have been very precise with these Cornet missiles, and so these videos, these piles of videos that Hezbollah produces each week. Let's look at number 14 tomorrow, because the Israelis made a big deal about this video. They said that they had a training exercise in the Galilee, a Galilee exercise that they said was to prepare for all scenarios in the Galilee, which basically means Hezbollah invasion of the Galilee. This is an IDF, Israeli Air Force, and their search and rescue operations preparedness. And this is the video that Israel put out. The only thing in the video is them doing medevacs of their injured soldiers to practice medevacs of their injured soldiers, and then a bunch of generals, a bunch of old men standing around talking. The video goes on for 2.5 minutes of them just all standing around talking. And so this is this major training exercise that took place in the north. They announced it days in advance that it was going to happen. And I followed it to just see what kind of exercises they were going to do. And just interestingly, the only thing that they show is their medevacs, which I think when you compare to the resistance videos is just remarkable. Let's go to number 15 tomorrow. I just wanted to throw that in there about what the Israelis are doing. They don't just show shooting at school walls in Gaza. They also show the medevac of their soldiers in preparation for a battle with Hezbollah. This is in Metula. This is in another abandoned Israeli community in the north that has been used as a military base. This is a direct Cornet strike on a troop position inside a long evacuated settlement. So we see that strike hitting there. And number 16 tomorrow is also in Metula. This is a Cornet anti-tank missile strike on you can see dismounted soldiers there in the circle. And that dismounted soldier is going to get into his Humvee. We see the Cornet, Iranian version of the Cornet there. Firing on them. And again, another direct hit in using civilian infrastructure as a shield, a military base. We can see the Humvee up the armored vehicle being hit directly in that shot for people that are watching it. Hezbollah rewinds it for us in case we missed it the first time. A direct hit on that vehicle that they're showing. And you can see after in this footage the Humvee rolling down into the bush. No casualties claimed on that incident, but you can see the way that vehicle drifts into the bush, that there are clearly casualties in that operation as well. And number 17 here, this is one of 51 targetings by Hezbollah of Israeli air assets. This is the 𝐓𝐡𝐞 Hermes 450 drone. We reported 2 weeks ago that Hezbollah downed the same series drone 900, Hermes 900. This is a $2 million drone. It's a reconnaissance and combat drone, so it's part of their signals intelligence warfare. It's carrying out assassinations and airstrikes. It's an armed weapon. It's $2 million. This is the second one in about 3 weeks that we've seen of a Hermes 450 downed. We also saw the Hermes 900 downed a couple weeks ago. This is Hezbollah showing us. They're not showing us the missile that's used for the strike. They edited that part out. But as I covered on a previous show, it's apparent that they're using these, what are called Item 358. They're a loitering drone that acts like a cruise missile that the Ansar Allah movement has clearly been using to down MQ-9 Reaper drones over Yemen. And this is Hezbollah using this weapon to now down the third flagship Israeli drone over Lebanese territory, which effectively means that this weapon is an anti-access area denial weapon, which means that the Israelis are going to have to adjust the way that they carry out their war, because these platforms that are crucial to their war plans giving real-time surveillance, they're being downed. And it's obvious that the capacity to do this is clearly within the hands of the resistance at this point, and it structurally changes the way that the Israelis have to fight this war. This is Hezbollah just giving the specs on this drone and showing the way that it's used for getting reconnaissance information about the battlefield, distributing it, and then distributing it to the fighters of the Israelis, so they constantly know. And these are part of Hezbollah's response to the assassinations that Israel has carried out against their Radwan special forces units that are on the border. The attack at Arab al-Aramshi was an attack on a reconnaissance base that's part of the assassinations. These drones are what carry out the assassinations. And so these are Hezbollah's direct response to Israeli operations. They're able to communicate through the resistance, through their operations. And you can watch we're watching, for the listeners, we're watching this Hermes drone spiraling down to the ground. So I wanted to bring you those videos from Lebanon as well, because the battle in the north for Israel has really deepened as they have pulled their forces mostly out of Gaza and are carrying out artillery and air war on Gaza. There's still a massive situation that the Israelis have to handle on the northern front, and they show no signs. They show signs of losing that war as well in the north. So I just wanted to bring you all of that in the resistance report for this week: West Bank, Gaza, and Lebanon.
Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit like, leave a comment. These engagements help us with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps us to get around Silicon Valley censorship as much as possible. It does make a difference. You can also support our journalism by going to electronicintifada.net and clicking on donate now. Thank you.